Hi, we are going to get started on the tutorial that goes with the Master Detective. So we'll be making this album together, and it's got some new fangled fun things in it. I hope you'll enjoy it. And of course, we'll be using the Sherlock Holmes. I will be adding in some more of the Bo Bunny papers, possibly. I'll let you know when we get to that point, because we do have the 12 by 12 patterns and solids. The one thing that's nice about this line is the 12 by 12 patterns and solids. I am going to start out in this tutorial, since it's the first time I'm making this in this design, with 3 sheets of each design. And I'm starting out with 1 pack of the brown cardstock so that we can see exactly how much I use, so I know exactly how much to tell you that I've used. I know that's helpful. So our pages today are going to be top load again, just like we did on the other, except for I'm just doing them a little bit different on size. They are 6 by 8.5. So what you want to do is, I've already made 4 of them. We'll be doing one together. Is your top pieces then are the 6 by 8.5. And instead of folding these over, because we want the full size 6 inches, you'll cut your base pages, 5 of them, at 6.5 by 9 inches. So 6.5 by 9, and then 6 by 8.5. And like I mentioned in my other tutorials, there is no written with these. The best thing to do is to grab your pad of paper. That's what I do, and I write down all my measurements. And that way you can go back later and have your measurements in front of you. So 6 by 8.5 is the base. You'll want 5 of those. Then you want 5 of the 6.5 by 9. And we're going to start, even though I did score, I want to put it in my scoreboard again with you. I had, actually it doesn't matter on this one, but I scored originally, there we go, turn it correctly, 1/2 inch, then I turned it onto the 9-inch side and scored again at 1/2 inch. And so let's make that first. And I did miter the corners, and then here I should have waited, but I went ahead and just cut it straight across. Now, one thing, you don't want to cut into that intersecting score line, or you'll have a hole in you have that little hole there. So just stay on the other side of the line, or you can cut it and then angle it, whichever is easiest for you. And I did miter all of the corners. My camera is a ceiling mount, and it seems like every time grandkids have been jumping around, the camera moves, and I don't quite have the same angle. And I'm noticing I'm not staying completely in camera, but there we go. I will try. Then I'm going to add my adhesive, and this is the Art Glitter Glue. Fabulous. And it's available in my store at countrycraftcreations.com. The best glue you will ever use. I will be using score tape for the cover. I use the score tape sheets that we carry. It makes putting your cover together so easy. Now, I love this Master Detective line. It's actually Graphic 45's Halloween paper line. Just to let you know, this is the Halloween line that they've come out with. And it is a fun paper. And what's really fun is last year, October, we did with Country Craft Creations, if you remember, and you look back at our videos, we actually did the Master Detective game. And so I think that's so cool. We did a who guess it, who did it, where, and we used all the scrapbook companies. And the winner got a really nice prize from Bo Bunny. And then they came out with Master Detective, and I thought that is so cool. So now I have 5 pages. There's 2. Let's see, I already did mine. 3, 4, and 5. They're so simple, so I didn't do all of them on camera. Now for our first page, you're going to want to cut 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 5. Then you're going to put it in your scoreboard on the 5-inch side, and you'll score each one at 1/2 of an inch. And you need 2 of those. 5 inches long, 4 3/4 wide. On the 5-inch side, score at 1/2. The next one that you want, your next piece is 7 1/2 inches long by 4 inches wide. Now, all these pieces that I'm cutting are from the pieces, if you're using 12 by 12 cardstock, that you cut from your pages. You should have some of these. Now, this is also the linen, brown linen. I'm sorry, I should have told you in the beginning. I'm using our brown linen cardstock. Now, you want to score it 1/2 of an inch, and then 5/8, which is just that tick mark right after. You need that little space because we're layering. When you layer your flaps, you need a little more space so that they'll lay down nice and flat. And you want 2 of those. They are 7 1/2 inches by 4 inches wide. Then you'll score at 1/2 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch. Okay, our next piece, 2 inches by 5 1/4. Now on each end, score at 1/2, score at 5/8. Then turn it and repeat. 1/2, 5/8. Okay, let's put our page together. So your top, you'll have the top loading mat. The left side is your hinges, and your finished edge will be, you know, the outside edge. I have to turn mine upside down when doing flaps. And I want to start with my 4 3/4 by 5 inch. And I'm going to just center these right on my page at the top and one at the bottom. We don't have to miter the corners because it's not going edge to edge. If you want the exact center, you can measure. I can tell about a finger width on each side. We'll put our first flap down. I can turn it around. And this is my second 5 inch by 4 3/4. Now we do want these to be the same. So you can use your top flap as your guide. Okay, so when you open, you have some extra room. Now we want to put down our next flaps. Now remember, we have this little gusset, and it is going to sit just on the inside. Let me show you. I'm putting it just down on this inside of my pocket here. Okay, and you want to now center this pretty much on those 2 flaps. So you have the same on each side. Once you're there, you can mark it if you like. If you're using a liquid adhesive, a glue, you will have time to put it down, or this way you can just open your flap. Now, one thing to remember is you have the 2 score lines. You have one here, and this one now is sitting at the top of the page. When I put my flaps down, I push this forward, okay, because I need that space. Let me show you. Put your adhesive there. Push it forward so it pushes against that first score mark. And it moved. I don't believe this. Okay, we got the mistake. We got the mistake done and over with. Sorry. We always have to have that first mistake, don't we? When it comes to me. Just do it this way so it doesn't move. Let me make sure real quick. No. Okay, there we go. Like I said, that is a really little score mark, okay? But it's enough that it comes over the top, and now we are able to have room for the bulk. Because when you start layering it, you may find that your flaps don't like to lay down flat, and that's what happens. Okay, so that one was on the inside, but this one is actually going to be now on top of the page. Okay. And we want to make sure they are perfectly even on top of each other. Side to side, they need to match. Okay. Now, the bottom will come to the top, because now we're going to take our little band, and we want to use this band, see, as our closure. Okay, and the thing is, you need to have it up high enough. Let me wrap it. There we go. On your band, so that it keeps it closed, but not too high that it's too hard to open. And I'll tell you where mine will be in just a second. And that's a great way when you don't want to use your magnets. So, I'm putting it down 2 1/8 of an inch from the top. So 2 1/8 inches from the top. That I did measure down so I knew where it would go. And again, we have these gussets, because once we mat, when we mat these, it gets bulkier and bulkier. And if we don't mat, I mean, if we don't have that gusset, we're never going to get our band inside of there. Okay, again, make sure there we go, you're leaving the gusset there. I'm using one of our new EK tools. Well, for me, they're new. We just brought them in and to the store. I absolutely love this thing. Not only the ergonomic feature of how it is, it makes my hand doesn't hurt as much when using it, but it really puts down some torque on this paper, and I love it because our artisan cardstock is heavier, and it does take that. Oh, mine is crooked. Part of the problem is the paper is really hard to see. Not a good way to start our tutorial out, is it? How on earth did I get that crooked? I said it is hard to see. Let's try again. Thank goodness. We're going to be covering things up. So when I get quiet in the tutorials, you know I'm concentrating because I'm okay. Now, that is how that page is going to go. So we have our band, and it will close nicely, and it'll be tighter when we mat this. And then we open it up, and we have some more space. So we're just packing this thing with punch. We want lots of photograph room. No, this is just going to be a really, really cute album. So there we have the front of page 1. The back of page 1, you'll want to cut your first piece at 5 by 8.5. Then you need 2 pieces, and like I said, you should have the scraps that are 3 by 9.5. So we will have 2 pockets on the flap. And I already did cheat and score. So you will score 1/2 inch. And then on your pockets, oh, that was a 1/2 inch on the 5 inch side. So on the 9.5 inch side, you'll need to score 1/2 inch on the 2 short ends, 1/2 of an inch at the bottom on both of those. So we'll go ahead and fold these up. Now we're going to put these onto the flap before we put them onto the pocket for this one. And I'm going to be doing something different. I am so tired of my mat tags getting stuck down at the mat, and I know some crafters have told me to use Scotch tape. So we were packing orders today, and I thought, wow, that packing tape is really strong. So I'm going to be applying it. I'll show you to the bottom because of the tags are always getting caught down here no matter what I do on this bottom lip, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm going to try this. We'll see if it works. I'm just going to... Now, one thing I did the soft score because our burnish, I wanted to make sure that everything was the right size. Now, the hinge side, when you turn this over, is now on the right-hand side. So that is where our flap will open and close. There will be a magnet. So this one will need a large magnet. I'm going to just trim those off a hair. But let's go ahead. Now our first pocket will sit like on this outside. So I've got it turned so my score line is facing towards me. And your first pocket will sit there just above that score line. So you do want to make sure that it's the right size side to side and that nothing's going to be hanging over the edge. If it does, just push your score line up a little bit. It is kind of tight. There we go. Sometimes it's not enough that I need to rescore, but there we go. It was enough that I could move it in. Oh, oops. Can't do that yet. Sorry. So what I'm going to do is attach this bottom piece. And then I'm going to put my packing tape because I'm just tired of the tags sticking. I even thought of doing this and then, you know, applying the decorative paper, but then I'd have the other edge. So I just grabbed my packing tape. And of course it wants to get stuck on camera. Actually, it's more mailing tape, so it's pretty strong. Very sticky. And one thing, you don't want it to be too far on the edge. And you don't even need to use this big of a piece. You can take off little pieces if you wanted. Because you need your corners to stick down on the sides. Now, that should work. Now it's nice and smooth. I know I'm slow. Some of you may have already been doing this. But on my last album, The French Country, the tags were just stuck on some of those, and I'm like, there's got to be something. And we were packing orders today. My daughter-in-law says, well, why don't you use the packing tape? I thought she meant to put the pockets together with, and she says, no, along that edge. because I never thought of it. Oh yeah, that's so much nicer. I will still put my paper down there, but not all the way, and now my tag won't get stuck. Turn it over, and we'll repeat the same thing. Now this is going to go, here's our flap, so it needs to sit just above that score line, and I'll do the bottom first. Make sure we're edge to edge. Oops, and don't get onto the score line. You need to be right above it. Let me try it this way. There we go. So we're not going to be quite over the sides. You know, other than wrapping the pockets, sometimes it's not possible. I don't have any other solution. And if that works, then I'm going to be really happy. And the glue gets out, like so. So now we can finish up that score. Grab your page, and remember to turn it right over so we don't have anything upside down. And I will be using a large magnet. To hold that down. And then, that's so much nicer. So much nicer. Oh, yes. Just making sure that tapes down. Then we'll get our large magnet onto there. And there is page 1. I hope I wasn't out of camera. I'm back with the magnet. So let's get our magnet placed. A lot of times if I don't do it at this point, then it doesn't get done. And I'll be honest with you, this flap is quite a heavy flap. So it may even stay, if you're not going to use magnets, you'll see it probably will stay down just fine, but I like the magnets. And this would be a great place if you needed to do a different type of a closure. You do have that room. Okay, so we'll start on page 2. Keep my magnets handy. Grab my page. So this is the front of page 2. Hinge to my left. We're going to be making 2 flaps and then a pocket. So I did score one of my flaps. Now once again, we're going to have that 1/4 inch gusset. That's what's going to enable our flaps to basically sit on top of each other. And move this. I cut mine at 6.5 by 5 inches. And we want to score on the 6.5-inch side at 1/2 and 3/4. For the, let me go ahead and move this. For the inside pocket that we will be creating, it measures 8 inches long and it is 7 inches wide. So you'll need to cut that 8 by 7. Now on the 7-inch side, we want to score on each side at 1/2 of an inch. Then we will score on the 3-inch line. Now, when making this type of pocket, it also is a nice pocket because you don't have things in your way. And I'll show you a couple of things that I'm going to do. You can do with this. This part you can determine how long you want or how big you want the pocket by just changing the size of your paper, of course. So let's go ahead and we'll get this all burnished on the score lines. And then we'll set this aside and we will do our 2 flaps first. Oh, let's see. I forgot to give you the other measurement. So let's just set that aside. And then for our pockets that sit on here, I cut 2 that are 3.5 by 6. You'll want 2 of those. We need to score those also. So we want to score half of an inch on one of the long sides and 1/2 on the 2 short sides. I haven't been able to readjust my camera. It was perfect at one time, and now it's not again. So I'll try and stay in camera where you can see measurements. And let's finish up those. So we want to make our pockets first. And this collection, of course, it has the ephemera cards. So you have a lot of places. Whoops. I mean, you need a lot of different pockets to put some really cute ephemera cards. That is one of the things I love about Authentique, or love Authentique too. I love their life cards, but I love the ephemera cards. We crafted 45 because they can also be used as actual postcards, and they are fun to mail. Okay, so we're going to build our pocket. Here's our first score line, our second, and this will sit just right above our score line. I'm going to check my sides. I always check the side to side first. Looks great. We're good to go. So let's go ahead and do our corners. Whoops, I dropped my glue. I'm trying to do things with 2 hands and my teeth. I was trying to hold the pen. Sorry, I guess I just better stop for a second. Let's get this open before I stick myself with the pin. There's times I do wish I had more than one set of hands when we're crafting and when we had toddlers. Okay, this will sit right above the score line, the second one. Oh, I was going to put down my tape, and I did not. See, even that gets it. So I'm going to try it. Let me just let this one go. I think I'll just take my paper down. That's what we'll do. Just get it out and ready for the next one. to the bottom first. You can just put these down and then glue the bottom, and that would take care of some of that problem, but then you do lose some of that room. This does add some space when adding in your pockets, and that's one reason I want to do it this way for this album. And with all the ephemera cards, you want all that space. Ephemera cards are great places to also add those extra pictures. And I'll tell you what, this is the first tutorial and the first project. I've really been using this bone folder. And if you don't own one and you don't have any place to purchase one, they'll be in our store Monday. They are fabulous, absolutely fabulous. They're great for the hand. I was looking for something that was better to hold because these are pretty little, you got to admit. This just really gives you some relief off your hands. It really does. It's a lot. It's really comfortable and easy to use, yet strong. Really loving it. And as you know, I don't just bring stuff into the store. I like to bring things that I know are worth the money, worth using, that are a benefit to crafters. That's why, you know, I go to Harbor Freight even for some of these tools, because it can get expensive if you keep having to buy the wrong tools. Okay, back to our project. Again, my hinge is to the left. I'm going to turn it sideways so I can make sure this is on right. So again, you'll have that gusset. We just want to add our glue here. Whoops, and it is going to go onto the bottom, but we're going to cover it with a pocket. And I'm putting mine almost to the bottom of the page. Maybe I'm talking just a hair away from the edge. We'll open this, and the next pocket now will sit at the top, and it will sit right in front of that second score line of that first flap. Just forgot to cut my corner. Again, just a tiny bit away from the top. That's my 1/4 inch. I'll push back, sharpen that up. Now see, they overlap right there. Okay, now you should have a 1/4 inch from there, and then see how they sit just right on top of each other. And sometimes there you go. They're not quite even until you start matting them. And let me show you. So if that's something that bothers you, see they might be off just a hair, you can put that in your cutter. There's not a lot you can do because they sit on top of each other. So I'm deciding here, do I want to trim? I think I will. Using my small cutter. Oops. I'm I'm just putting it in tiny bit. Will do ya. And there we go. Now they're more perfect. Just remember, this is a little bit smaller now, which is fine. It sits behind, and we want to do our pocket. Okay. So we have burnished up this bottom piece. Now let's burnish the sides. And you may already be familiar with making these pockets. Now before we cut anything, I'm just checking. Did I cut mine wrong and tell you? I did. Maybe. I think I did lose that piece. You know what? I think I accidentally cut my other piece because it's supposed to be 7. It's supposed to be 7 by 8. And you know what I did? I accidentally cut that off. And if I told you the wrong measurements, I apologize, but let me see. No? Let me cut a new 7 by 8. I'm not sure what I did. So, wait a minute. That's it. Okay, I know what I did. I did tell you right. It's 7 by 8. So when we fold this up, so we're making sure it matches side to side and it doesn't go over this first score line. And I knew I wasn't losing it. Too bad anyway. Okay, you're watered again. Okay, sorry for that. We're just rewiring the computers in the house, and they were checking my internet, so I just shut it off so we could talk for a minute. Sorry about that. So, the bottom folds up, these sides fold in, so we need to now push these to the outside. Okay. Pocket in, this one's out. Now, when we put this down, like I said, you may already be familiar with this. You now have 2 pockets on the inside here. Now, one thing you can do is that's what it was. But we're not doing that. Never mind. I was going to show you how you can cut in the middle, but we're not going to do that on here. So ignore me. My brain's going 20 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and adhere our sides up. And I got a little too much glue that time. And this will be all covered with paper. But also, there's nothing to hit the tags, so. I guess I've just come to a point where I'm just tired of the tags getting stuck like I mentioned, so. Everything okay? Everything's going to fit fine. And down that goes. Now on here, I'm going to be using, we need to use a magnet. we have this nice overlap space, so we should only have to use one magnet. And what I'm doing is just trying to find the best placement because it's going to be a little bit off. We want it to hold down both, and I don't want to use two of the magnets. So my goal is to go on the back of, so when you open it, this one that overlaps, it's going to have to go over on the back here. So I'm going to mark. That's one thing too. I like to make sure, I'm just going to mark where my pages come together. I want to make sure that this magnet is not going to be too close to the edge. So I won't push down too hard. I'm going to go right next to my mark. And make sure this will work. Now I'm just going to, there we go, till they catch. And then we need to see where it's going to hit. Oh, on our pocket. That's just fine. So see, now that will hold down both flaps because this one catches just on the corner, but enough to hold it down. So that's good. That's what we wanted. Then, let me check them. So much nicer. Oh, this one doesn't have the tape. That's why. See, that's so much nicer when you can just slide it down in there. It's amazing what that packing tape did. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. And just go straight down in now with no problems. Okay. Move some stuff here and let's work on the back of page 2. The back of our page is going to have a very similar pocket that we just made, but it's going to go vertical. And you're going to want to cut your pocket at 6 inches by 9.5. Then I scored 1/2 on each of the short sides. And sorry about that, we scored at 2.5 down the middle. So once again, for your pocket pieces, you fold those in. These are folded outward. Now on the front was our 2 flaps, and then we have the horizontal pocket. Oh, my vertical's messed up. Now when you turn it over, your finished edge. Oh, we need to go back to here. That's what I forgot. You're probably wondering what's going to stop your tag from falling through. Yeah, we needed to put a bead of glue down here. Oh, we would have remembered when the tag started falling out. Make sure that's secure. So this pocket, and you do have a choice. I want it to be on this finished edge, so my tags go like this. You can have it, here's my hinge. You can have it over there on the hinge side. For me, that just doesn't feel natural because being right-handed. So totally up to you. It can go on both sides. Remember, those are folded back, and I did check the width side to side. Everything's down. And glue is cleaned out of the sides, just in case. Now on our page, I need to turn sideways, so it will sit like so. add the bead of glue again. Right along the bottom. Lots of fun pockets. So that's page 2. Now page 3. Page 3 is where we will build right now the pages. I'll show you the flaps, and we'll go back with our pattern paper and we'll be doing the spinner on the inside. So for your flaps, you want 2 different pieces that are 8.5 by 6.5, 8.5 by 5.5. So we'll put down our 8.5 by 6.5 first. Finish off both of those. Oh, and then you score it at 1/2 of an inch. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that. So yes, score it 1/2 of an inch on both of these down the long side. Corners a little. Okay, I'll start with my larger one first. Hinge to my left. Now, before I put it down securely, I want to make sure it's not too long. Top and bottom, and if it goes over that hinge, you might want to trim a hair off because you don't want it to go to the hinge. And that happens sometimes when we're cutting. We just don't put the paper completely on the marking, and so there we go. Just a little trim is all it needed. Okay, now turn this so now the hinge side is towards me. Checking my top to bottom. Whoops. Don't want to glue your hinge shut or hinge opening. Now, the longer piece goes inside. So again, check your fit, see if you need to trim it or if it's okay. Now, we will have that little tie here, the tie tabs. So yeah, if you need to take a little bit more off, now's the time to do it. Mine it's really close to that. Just take another tiny piece off. Man, my Kids are going to think you're drunk pretty soon with as many times as I've hit the camera. We are back with the back of the page. Sorry about that phone call. So the waterfall is what is on the back. We just did the flaps. Short one over. So the waterfall, let me show you what I did. I cut 5 pieces that are 5. No, I cut more than that. They are 5 by 5. There's 1, 2, 3. I did 6. And then I put it in on the 5-inch side since it's 5 square, and scored a 1/2 inch. Now I did cut, I may have cut too many, and I'll show you. This is what I do when I figure out my waterfall. I don't like to put them just directly on my pages. You can, but when I do, they're never straight. So I like to put them on a base. Now, if you are good at putting them directly onto the page, you just want to mat it first, and I will go ahead and still mat this so we can put our waterfall down. Now, the one thing though, if you mat it now, actually I won't. I did cut my mat piece, but I'm not going to use it. I'll set it aside because it'll depend on what you're going to use for a closure for your waterfall. So I lay these down with my 1/2 inch to the back, and now I'm going to lay them down using my measurements. Here's a guide, every 1/2 inch. So if you're ever wondering how long you can make your waterfall, and the only reason I need to figure this out is because I did change the size of the waterfall. I wanted there to be more, and I wanted them to be a little bit bigger to do 3 by 5s. So what I do is I go down every 1/2 inch. So I know my base is going to have to be right now 5 by 7. And I can actually add in another 1, 2 waterfalls. And so I think I will. I want to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to put my matting aside. So let me cut 2 more 5 by 5s. Now the reason I did 5 by 5 is you can crop down a 3 by 5 photo. I'll just move that to the side. You crop down your 3 by 5 photo to fit on your waterfalls, or 2 by 4s. So I like to go a little bit bigger sometimes. So my waterfall back. So this kind of takes the guessing out of how big my waterfall can be, because my page is 8.5. So this now will put me at 8 inches. So, you know, you can remove one if you like, and then when you put your page next to it, I think I will remove one. Set him aside for a tag. Yeah, I'm going to remove one. So I'm going to cut my base piece now at 7 1/2 inches long by 5 inches wide. I've got any more scraps. First thing, let me just make sure I cut everything correct, side to side. We did. Now I'll just put my waterfall aside because I truly have not decided on the closure. I'm not sure if I just want to go magnet or make the little flaps and ties. But we'll do that when we get there. So now I'm just going to keep adding my waterfall. Whoops. I keep hitting my, mouse over here. It takes me out of the picture, and then I can't see what I'm doing, and I'm not sure if the video's still on. So Okay, now we put it down, making sure everything's straight. If it's not, you should have a few seconds to adjust it, which I don't understand how. Putting the waterfall right on top of each other, sometimes it doesn't come out straight, but it happens. Push that down. And there's nothing that drives me crazy more than a crooked waterfall. I've got to cut him down. I think it's a little too wide. And, you know, sometimes it can be the way the paper was scored. Got to be the way the paper was scored. Straighten that out a little. Okay, now I've got a good running going here. I don't need to have it upside down. Should be okay. Maybe not. We'll just stay upside down here. Like I said, you wouldn't think that see, I've got a really crooked one. Don't know if you guys can see it. I'm gonna fix the score line. There. So what I do is I just push it and then see, I just grab this, make some slack, so I can push it over, and then push the score out. It's usually just in that score line because they're all the same size. I mean, I even cut them like all at once in a stack on my cutter, so it has to be the score. And our last one. You know, that's the waterfall brought something to mind. I have a lot of people that have asked me, how many photos can your albums hold? And I'm going to be honest with you, it depends on how many you put in there. And so really, that's the conclusion I've come to. It depends on how many you want to put in and how you want to crop and cut your albums. But, you know, this would give you the opportunity for at least 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. But here's the thing. Maybe you're going to cut them smaller. Like I've done a lot 2x3s and then add more than one because you just want to cut out all that scenery. So that is kind of an open, kind of an odd question I always get. But it depends on what you want to put on there. So here's the piece I cut. It's the back of this the skeleton one. I didn't put him on the front because I know I was just going to cover him. So I'm going to use the plaid here, but I'm not putting this down yet. So I can't decide if I want to do a magnet or if I want to do a different closure with the string. It's really cool, doesn't it, though? I love this album. So I'm just going to place my matting and my waterfall right in there. And get our pages together here. And we'll set that aside, and then we will start on our 4th page. For this page, it will take a little extra building. We're actually going to do it right on our page together, but you're going to love it. It is a really fun page, and so you'll want to get out a couple things I'm going to use. I'm going to need the small magnets, and you're going to want the Who Done It sheet because this one is absolutely perfect. Couldn't ask for a better sheet for this one. And I'll come back with the cutting. I just need to go get my magnets. Okay, back with the small magnets for this. Now, one thing I want to tell you about this, I'm going to move this. It's in my tentative one. The other thing I'm going to use is the Bow Bunny. This paper couldn't be more perfect. This one is the chocolate vintage. And I'm going to use this backside, not the polka dots, because it looks like the old wall. And that's what I'm going for. So this was the one I did off camera, just so I knew all my measurements. Let me show you. It's going to be a little different. When we open our pages here to reveal underneath, okay, the magnet will hold it. It is hard to get a hold of, but you may want to consider a knob, or you can just use a tab or lift it. The thing with the Tim Holtz, if you're going to use these, I would use my E6000 and then put it down. I would not put the screw through. There isn't room, and I tried it with the magnet, and they kind of interfere with each other, and I ended up actually tearing the paper off because it was so strong once that magnet grabbed it. It's totally up to you. Totally up to you. I will be using E6000 and add my 2 knobs. So what this is going to be, I'm going to show you how to cut your paper. When you open it, so I'll have the victim under one, and I have Sherlock Holmes under my other door. And then you could put pictures here. So say you're having a really fun Halloween game, or like we did with our design team last year. We did a Master Detective game. It was so cool. And then this would have been the perfect paper to use when we did our game. Then we could have added the cute pictures of us there. So let's get started. Now, when you cut, these, I'm just going to use last to show you. Keep everything together, hopefully. This is a little bit more of a long drawn out. It's not long drawn out, but it's easier than it looks. Okay, what I did first is cut off your top and your bottom. Now make sure when you're cutting this off, I'll cut another one off with you. We're going to cut it really close. And then, of course, we want our border pieces. And so we'll put that aside. Definitely we'll be using that. Now we're going to cut. One thing you could leave, because there's room, you can leave one like the green one if you want to have it at the bottom. So this one, the way I cut it, actually you can have more. You could have, it's really odd, that looks like a different bottom. I don't know what I did. Oh, There it is. I cut it off. So totally up to you. I am cutting mine off so that it is just the characters, and you can add your border later. That way I know exactly what I'm working with. Now, the one thing I hate to do is cut these side borders off, but we have to. Let me grab my, so here is my matting piece, and I cut it 8 3/8 by 8 3/8 by 6 5/8, or 6 7/8, 5 7/8, 5 7/8, sorry, by 8 3/8. So what we want, we need this black border and this black border. We need these four things. Now you could cut this off here and then take these four if you want Professor Moriarty and Dr. John Watson. Totally up to you. I'm going to go with the girl. So I want to cut right next to the green border. Now, straighten this one up so they match on each side. Take off a little more. There we go. Now, one thing about this, excuse me, wonderful allergies, huh? Okay. Now, see, this will sit right there. Looks great. And then you can always add your borders. Now, your pieces here, you'll want to cut out. So you want to have one of these guys behind the door. I'm actually going to be using, oh, and you may need, you're going to probably need 2 sheets of this, just to forewarn you. And what I love is one side, see, has that light color. So that border would look really cool. I'm going to have the victim and Sherlock Holmes. Now, when you cut these out, you have to cut all the way down to that green. Remove that black line because you want them to fit. Oh. You want them to fit when the door is opened right inside. And then, oh, come on. Oh, there he is. He fell out. Okay, turning it over. So I will cut, let's see. Here's the, okay, no, I will cut the people. You need to cut the people. Well, you don't need to, but what we need to do is we're going to have to then cut 2 more of the squares to fit on the inside, and I'll cut one with you because we have to be able to hide our magnets. Now I have so many people hanging around here. I lost a couple of my cards, but we can cut new ones. So my Sherlock Holmes and the victim is going to be behind the doors. And then I have one of my master detectives ready to line for our magnet. Oh, sitting right here. You ever had your cell phone in your hand and you can't find it? Well, that's it. Okay. So we are going to open the people. So what you want to do is you want a sharp box knife or your cutting knife, whatever you like to use, your ruler, and your knife. It really is simple. I take, oh no, there we go. We opened the people. Okay, decide how do you want them to open. Do you want them to open in or out? So I'll have him open out and her open out. So they'll go this way together. So this then becomes my hinge back here. We're going to start with Dr. John Watson. And you know, I think, yeah, the hinge will be back here. The hinges are going to be on the inside of the paper. Now, we don't have a lot of border on this one at the top. Well, I mean, I don't. Just do this real quick. Sorry about this. I need more border. I don't know why I cut that one so short. I do. Let me see. Make sure. Okay, that's better. So make sure I have just not. Well, I have about the same, don't I? All right. Well, has more at the top and bottom. I'm going to use this one. So we've decided the hinge is on the inside, so I need to cut this outside, this, and this edge. We're going to start by laying a ruler. It's really better to use it. And you're going to cut, you'll see the gold if you're using this paper. And you're going to leave it so the green is not cut, basically. So you're cutting like the inside border. Okay. Top. Sorry if my head hits the camera. So first I poke, then I cut. Go back over it if you have to, because you don't want to force it. Now try and get your corners to match so that they'll cut. Poke. I always poke down. Now, don't get excited and just push it open, because see, they still may be connected. Right, there we go. By just one little fiber. It's amazing. Don't just try and bend it open either. Here's what you need to do. Take your ruler. It becomes like our bone folder or our scoring mark. Push down and then go ahead and push this open. Okay, using a bone folder gently along that edge. Now remember, if you haven't used Graphic 45 paper before, you have to be a little bit gentle when creasing, and it tends sometimes to crack. So don't use your sharp edge like that. I'm using the dollar edges. Now I want to turn it over and gently repeat. Oh, one thing we probably should have done first was ink our edges, because once you start tearing it, it becomes harder to work with. So let's do that really quick. We'll get rid of our white edges. Be gentle if you've cut it. And I'm just using the black Noir from Prima. But you could use a burgundy, a rust ink. You could use, gosh, chocolate, sepia. It would all look great. Okay, so we have Dr. Watson all finished. And you may have to clean up that corner. So I am going to take just a tiny, tiny bit off where I can see it. It might catch. You could even round it. There, just a little bit, so that it will lay nicely. Now we want Mary to open up in also. So again, I'm going to put my ruler along the, you'll see the little gold line before your green starts. Poke a little bit of a hole. The reason I do the top and bottom first is in case I change my mind on how I want it to open. And then you have to do the top and bottom no matter what, but your two long sides, then you can make that other decision if you've changed your mind. Which, you know, in paper crafting we do a lot. So now I'll have her open into the page. So I'm going to do the inside edge. Oh, well, no, that just, okay, she's gonna, yeah, I did it backwards, but that's okay. Of course I did. And it's not a problem. We will be securing this down on the page. Okay. I mean, I'm just barely trimming that corner to get those edges there. That might stick. Once again, now on this, if you ended up doing it on this edge that I did. So I'm going to bring my ruler in just a hair, almost where that gold border starts. And gently don't force it any further than it wants to go to where you've cut it. I push up a little bit because you do not want to tear it. And then it should fold backwards nicely. Okay, let me ink this one. We're going to go ahead and put this down. We will put our magnets, and then we'll put our victims or whoever we'd like in the window. Now, what would be fun is you could also put family members' pictures inside of there if you don't want to use the characters. Okay. So that will go down. Now you need to have your characters, and see I cut it really close to that green border. We'll ink these. Now, I knew this. Yeah, see, I'm missing. I'm going to have to recut it, but that's okay. I'll cut it with you. So behind here, I'll put the victim. I need to trim him a little bit more. And Mary. I will put Sherlock. Like so. And I want to just go over the edges of the door gently where we've cut. Now, let me show you another thing is you can bend the corner up and shaggy it up so that it will give you another holding place if you don't want to put down a handle. Okay, so we have the victim. And I have my master detective. Let me cut another one with you. It's here somewhere. I'll find it after I cut it. So on this one, this is what we're going to hide a magnet behind. So that black line right there, I'm going to cut off part of that. I'm just going to go along that black line. And that's so it fits on top of the inside of our booklet, of our window. And we'll ink those edges really quick. And for this one, a wet adhesive, I think best, because you might need some placement time. Oh, I'm just going to cut him off over here on my cutter a little bit. Clean up my bordered area. So I just have that green. showing. Okay, put these guys to the side and grab your page. Hinge to your left. Okay, so I'm going to put the dot side down. Yeah, my hand is to the left, always double checking. I am loving this Bow Bunny vintage cardstock, even the other double dots. It just goes with so many things between Authentique and Graphic 45. I just love it. I'm glad we decided to bring it into the store. Okay, now let me go through and make sure there's no missed ink, because once it's down, it's down. Those edges a little bit more. Like I said, this is easier to do if we've done that before. Okay. Now, one thing you want to do, we're going to go down the center here. We're going to go across, and of course, around the edges, I'll adhere this one and this one down more. You do want to put your glue in the middle here of the two that are not opening. It will give it the stability. So, first I'll go down the middle, this way, down this way. Let's go around the edge. Across the top. Now my two stationary spots will add the adhesive. Now I'm holding in the middle where it's easy, where I have more hold, because it's stronger there. Center this down. Now you want to be careful when pushing the glue here. Here it doesn't affect it as much. We just want to make sure no glue gets in the way of our mechanisms. So kind of leave your doors open for that reason. Ugh, darn allergies. I apologize for the sniffles. I'll make sure that's down. Okay. So we've already cut out like our Sherlock Holmes and the victim. So we'll do our magnet placement first. We will have a magnet here and then underneath here. And like I said, for this one, it's best to use your small. And we're not going to be matting this anymore, so small will do just fine. And I am going to remove both sides of the backing. I'm going to put it right in the middle of Master Detective. I'll move this guy. Now, before we do that, either grab yourself a piece of scrap paper and let's put it in between, because we don't want to be pulling on that door too tight. And this way, it'll ensure, there we go, it'll let loose. So hold on to that. Now, see, he'll go down there. And I've already pre-cut my Master Detective. We cut those. They're going to go right on the inside, on top. after we do the back of this page, then I will get out my E6000 and I will be putting the knobs down. I like that to dry overnight. Let's see, it'll be up a little bit. You'll know to open it. But when you put your knob there, it really is best to use E6000 because you know it's going to be secure. And then it won't, it won't grab to the magnet. It won't come loose if you let it dry all night long. But like I said, you don't even have to because you can see the page will be bowed up just a hair. And he goes right in the center. And still, if you want to do it this way, if you're doing it for a gift or yourself, you still could put your family's picture in there. And what I would do is I would actually cut it so that the border would be there. Isn't that cool? My favorite page. Love it. Okay, we need another set. And I do apologize. My husband was actually out today and with the horses, and they were digging up dirt and all those other wonderful allergens, and like our windows were open, so that didn't help. Okay, my piece there. So it's time to get the Zyrtec out. Keep a hold of that just in case you might want to use that for another area that we have a small magnet. Oh, there's my racks. Okay, so now I've got Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I hope I just didn't do this backwards. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Right on top. Yep, everything's down. And make sure, make sure all glue, because if it grabs a hold of this crappy 45 paper because of the matte like finish, it really sticks and it will rip the paper. There we go. Awesome page, isn't it? I just love it. And kind of that element of surprise there. And, you know, I'm debating, do I want the knobs? I don't know. You could also use a brad and put it down before, but again, I don't know if I wanted that much more bulk because it still works great. Okay, let's do the back of, let's see, we're on page, oh wow, we're on page 4. Okay, for the piece that will be sitting on the back of our pop-up window, this is going to be the Peekaboo tag box. I don't know what to call it. I had made a card like this once, and I really liked it. So this is going to have one of our cards inside of there that will show. And one thing that I'm using that you can use the packaging of your products. I like to use the Art Glitter from the Art Glitter Company. I sell these at Country Craft Creations, and they are the acetate sheets. Okay, we're going to set those aside. Now, one thing when you're using acetate sheets like this, your score tape does work better. So I did some pre-work because I don't, it takes some thinking, and I'll be using a couple of clothespins. So I cut mine at 12 by 7. I need to get the camera. Like I said, I don't know what happened. But, oh, there we go. 12 by 7. Now, here are your scores. You're going to score at 3/8 of an inch. Then you're going to score at 4 3/8. 4 3/8 is between your quarter and your half. Then you're going to score at 4 3/4. Then you want to score again at 8 3/4. Now, when you get to your 8 3/4, you may have to move your paper. Just see how now, move it just a hair to get that 8 3/4, and then 9 1/8. Sorry, 8 3/4 and 9 1/8. And then you turn it, score all along the bottom at 3/8 of an inch. So let me repeat those. So we're going to score at 3/8, 4 3/8, 4 3/4, 8 3/4, 9 1/8, and 3/8 of an inch. Now, you want to go on all of these gusset areas and just clip straight up to that score line. When you get to this 3/8 of an inch tab, we're going to cut this off. One thing that works really well with this, I love to use my big 3-inch punch, hole punch. If you don't have one, you might want to do a square. And you can cut a square very simply, especially if you want a square to sit through. But I'll show you, the circle is big enough that, because I want to use the cards so it's looking through the window, like a fortune teller window, but you'll be able to see enough of it. So we're going to first just kind of fold up our score lines so you can get a feel of this, because we have to punch the hole, and this is actually easier to mat before we put it together. So just fold it. Now on this last one, your 9 1/8 of an inch, it's going to be not only where it's going to hold our box together, but when it folds over, there will be a small magnet. Now you'll be able to put a lot of tags in there because we're going to close the bottom. This is a little tricky. Clothespins do work. So it'll be a little slow putting together, just so you know what we want to do. So you'll see when we bring this over how it'll come together. In this little tab here, though, see, we want to glue it down. We want to glue it down to the inside. Oh, we don't want to do that yet. Sorry, back up. We need to punch our hole first before we put it together. I just got done saying that. So the window part will be where this 3/8 of an inch is. And you can use any size circle punch. It does not have to be 3 inches. It can be 2.5. I've done it with even smaller, but the 3-inch will give us really a nice look. I'm just going to punch, hold on to that circle because you will use it. And then another thing, it'll give you, see, an idea of the size to go behind there. So, a couple of things. You can either, use it for a template. I'm just putting the whole square card down in, and then I can send it. Or if you wanted to cut, that comes in handy. So now we want to go ahead and mat the front, because matting it first makes it easier, because we have a lot of different angles we have to do. And sorry, I'm just looking for, let me grab it. What I want to be on the outside. I haven't even opened some of these single sheets yet. That's a very cool one. But I want this to look almost like, the fortune teller. That's cool. I think we'll go with one of those two. The fortune teller window. And so you can also mat the inside. I think I'll go with this one because then I can decorate the front or even with the spider webs. So you're going to cut your first piece of cardstock. It's going to be 4 inches, and I'm going to go 3 7/8 by 6, just a little short of 6 1/2. Okay, now when you, how did I manage to get it too short? Oh goodness. Okay, let me cut the other one. Okay, 3 7/8 by 6 1/2 is what I did cut. I cut it right at 6 1/2. So now we want to draw this circle out. It'll help with punching it. And we'll have to do some different punching to get it to fit if you're using a punch. Okay. So now I want to put a bit in there right where I drew my circle. Again, hang on to that. Now this is where we might have to go through some of the fitting process. Wow, I don't have to go through the fitting process. It's perfect. A lot of times what I'll do when it's not right, then I put it back into my punch. I'll show you. So maybe the left side was too much. So I just move my punch. You see how I'm moving? It's not straight on. I move it over a little bit to cut off where I would need it. But I apologize. I was hoping to be able to show you if you needed to fit it, but I don't always draw my circles where they exactly belong, and so I'm shocked. So now we can go ahead and put that down, and I will be putting the acrylic on the inside. Now you can put it in between the paper and the cardstock if you like, but because it's so small, I don't usually do that when I'm doing the punches. If I was cutting it with a knife, measuring, doing a square, then I sometimes put it between the cardstock and the base. But this is really fun, and you can do it with any of your punches. So if you haven't invested in a cutting machine, and you're just feeling like you really are missing out, don't feel that way, because you can do a lot with your punches. Now, I've got to trim this because I want it to be on the inside, and it's very hard to see. I'm just taking off a little bit. I'm going to take off just a tiny, tiny bit more, and I'm telling you, my fingers, it can be a booger. Okay, I'll take some off the bottom. I don't need it so long. And now for this, I will be using my 1/8 of an inch score tape. I usually put it on the acrylic, but since I have such a tiny space up here, and I could have avoided that, I didn't stick my punch down far enough, but it's okay. There we go. Now, I lost my acrylic. I know it's here. I just can't see it. Oh, this is crazy. There it is. Wow. I'm going to say I have to cut another piece, and I don't want to cut another piece. Okay, making sure it's the right side. So I'm just going to go put it on the brown paper. So we're only going to do 3 sides. Put some tools away. Now let's put this down. Okay, now like right there, I didn't quite get it to the top. And so I've got some stickiness. And it might affect your tag. So I am going to take some of my packing tape. And I'm just cutting a tiny strip off of it. I'm going to put it right over the top. I didn't quite get the acrylic all the way up to the top, and it was sticky there. Now you need to decide, do you want to cover the inside, which I have this piece I cut too short. I can cover that, and take your cut apart now, the one that you want to use, and we'll go ahead and cut it apart. And then these tickets will be really cute to use on the front as decoration. Make it look like it's that carnival ticket booth where the palm reader will be. So let's go ahead and ink these edges. Oh, and do your, even though they probably won't show. Oh, I don't know. Spiders look pretty cool. Let's go with the spiders. Whoa, my glue bottle just came flicking out everywhere. Okay. Oh, no damage done. Well, I had washed the tip and there was still water in there too. Make sure it's really dry next time. Oh, there we go. Well, that was unexpected. Of course, when we are on camera, the unexpected always happens. Okay, let's decide exactly where we want our reader to be. I'm thinking I might just put it right there at the top. Now, if you want, you can pop this up, but you might have some trouble if you want to use this for tags, if you use pop dots. So real quick, I'm going to check it before I push it down. Now, we can go ahead like I said, it's easier to mat when you have a flat surface. And then we have our spider webs ready. And we have spider webs on the outside, inside. Oh, it looks great. Now, let's go around our circle. But we want to be careful when you're using the acrylic. I'm not really going to push down up there. I don't want glue on the acrylic. So I'll go around these edges. We have some really cool looking borders left. And one I really like is the skulls for this. So let's let that dry for a moment. I might use this whole thing that says Beautiful Mystery. Now I need to cut this down to 3 7/8. Need to check the fit. Ink our edges. Oh man, you could use either side. This is really a fun paper. Like I said, we had a lot of fun doing our mystery, murder mystery last year with the design team, and it's on YouTube. So it's kind of fun to have this paper. It's just a lot of fun. Now, let's go ahead because we have our flat surface. Cutter. And then any of the flowers or anything you want to decorate with, you can do. When it's on your page. So I am just separating these. They're cool. You can use them as one. But let's make the borders all the same. And this one. And this definitely is a great place then to add some flowers. Bed bug poison. The reason I'm not using the chipboards, I mean, this is already, we're bulking up the page, so. Center it more. I don't lose my placement here. Okay, the rest of the decoration will get done after we are putting it all together. Okay, so Now we can put our box together. You may have to now do a little bit of more scoring or burnishing on those score lines. And I'm going to miter this one a little bit more. There we go. So you have a nice finish. So first thing we want to do is these two little tabs right here. We want to glue them to the inside. And I'm only going to do one at a time. I'll show you why. Yeah, you kind of have to hold it. That's where a clothespin. Now it will stick up over the paper, and that's okay. Hold it so it gets a hold, and then take our clothespin. Let our clothespin do the work. And we're going to do the same thing here. I'm sorry, I know you may not be able to see so well, but that tab's just going on the inside. And I think I will just hold this one until it gets there we go, a good hold on it. There. Yeah, so this one will take a minute. So let's let that dry so we know that it's good and dry. And grab our page. And this is the part in crafting when I'm starting to get a mess, I lose everything. So this is our front of the page and the back. So we do want to go ahead and match. And I definitely don't want to cut apart my cut apart. Oh, here we go. Very, very cool. So I'm going to cut this to fit here, and I'm going to cut it at 5 7/8 by 8 3/8. Love the words. They really did them like Subway art this time. So we're going to go on all 4 sides. Hi. I'm recording, but it's okay, honey. What's up? Oh, you can come in. Just the little grandson. Show me. I'm just gluing. We're just gluing our page down. Oh, I'm making a cool book. I'll show you just a minute. We're doing a tutorial. Let's go ahead and get that down. And I'm gonna look. Pretty cool, huh?
I found this another stampy line.
Oh. Okay. Now we can go back to our box. Remove our clothespins, and now you'll have the form here. And this will lay right on top. And this is going to lay right in there. I can show you. And then this, actually, we need to cut off. So that it's, oh, we should have done this first. I'm going to just do it by hand. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is the fold over. So we should have had you cut it first. But you can just also hand cut it like so. So the thing about this is we really want to do this side and this side together. Or let's do this side first. I think that'll work because that's going to sit right on the inside. Then you'll just bring this up, this flat piece up to meet it. There we go. So we'll just hold this for a few minutes. And I kind of go over, see the edge of my scoreboard to help push down on it. Get in there if you can. Oh, yeah, guess what I did? We're going to have a tie closure. I forgot the magnet. No, sometimes I get just ahead of myself, excited. Can't wait to put something together. I forget a step, and that's okay. Once again, we'll just have to hold this for a minute. Unless you have something, well, that's way too super long that will reach down inside. My Tim Holtz scissors. And I think my side just doesn't want to hold that on this one. My 1/8 of an inch score tape would have worked great. Yeah, we should have the magnet down first, but it's okay. We still can get it in there. Or we can tie it. And like I said, if you're using the wet adhesive, this will just take a little bit of time, even with your art glitter glue. So this may be one of those score tape places that would work even better. Just add a little bit more. And when you open, I need to stop playing with it for a minute. That's what I need to do. Okay, because I still do want a magnet and I have to improvise. And so we may have to have a quick cleanup moment here because I'm losing everything. So I'm going to go from the inside, and it really shouldn't bother any of the tags that I use. Oh my goodness. And I need my talk about in there good. There we go. The only thing with this is what we're going to have to do. We have to reverse our magnet because I need the sticky side now. I'm going to have to see if I can get it without damaging the box. I may not be able to, so I may just say forget it and let's tie it. Let's just tie it. Sorry about all this, but that's okay. I think a tie will look really cool. So we need to do that first. Let me grab the seam binding. See what other color I grabbed. Yeah, I'll go with this one. So we'll just adhere the seam ribbon or seam binding to the back. Now you can put it here and then just have it tie, but I want it to go all the way around. That way I know it's not pulling on any paper or there's no problems. And then what would be cool is I do have a spiderweb charm I'll hang from here. So see, that worked great. Or you can just use a cotton twine. Okay. We'll place that. And I will use score tape. Get my 1/4 inch. Okay, for the flaps. Oh, so that's down. Now we did that with the score. I did that, with the score tape. I'm having just a little issue down here at the bottom. So I'll just maybe glue that later when I'm not playing with it so much. So 2 3/4 by 6 1/2 is what mine measures. So I'll put the plaid on the inside. That way photos can go there. Okay, I'm going to lift that up. And I'll just reverse that. Oh, making sure though, yeah, I don't put that on wrong. It does have to be upside down. Oh, yeah, I did it. There we go. You know, the thing with doing albums like this, where I haven't, you know, made it and put it together, then it makes me think, oh gosh, maybe it shouldn't go on the back. Maybe it should be on the front of the next page, but that's okay. Looks really cool, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and add our adhesive. Right on top of it. A hold of it. Oh, I don't have to undo that. What am I thinking here? I just need to get on the inside. Make sure it's straight. Extra long Tim Holtz scissors, just being careful that they are so long. Let me check to make sure I don't need to touch up any glued areas, like right there. Just glue it shut. I mean, not glue it shut, tie it shut, and leave it alone. Okay, that's the way it wants to go. Let me just trim up these edges. And that makes for a really cool surprise when you open this. Now, along these edges on the bottom, if you like, you can cut your, whoops, 3/8 of an inch, or no, not even that, maybe like an 1/8 of an inch strip if you wanted to finish off your box. Just to give you an idea. You can go around the edge there. And let's see, we've got this one and this one. We've got another pop-up to do. Now see, that will fit in there, and that's why we need those 1/2 inch gussets. And I'm going to clean up a little bit, and we will be back to finish page 5. Okay, for our mechanism pop-up card, we need a 5.5 by 11 inch piece, and we want to score it at 5.5. Now, let me fold this over. We will be having a magnet, so the magnet will sit on the back here, so we're going to need to put it down first. Then I will have one on the base of the page, so that I'll show you how that's going to work in just a minute. Let's go ahead and score our 10 inch by 4 1/4 inch piece. So we need to score this one at, I'm trying to remember, 2.5. Five and 7.5. And as I was scoring earlier, you probably did not see these marks. I did make 2. It doesn't matter really where you make them. I just did the 6 and a 5. And then I am using the Bo Bunny, that other piece of matching, so that it's already really cool looking. And we will want to mat this before we put it on. Get rid of those black edges. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to mat once it's already into the mechanism. So I'm just going to fold this one in half. And our ends we will fold up. You do have to be careful. It does really well at not cracking, but I was too rough on it. So I've already cut my mat pieces, and I'm using this one. So what you want to also do is decide if it's directional. You need to make sure that you did cut it directionally correct. And I'm going to stagger mine, and it will be easy though if you want to mount a picture on here. Now you can also take your cut aparts and cut them to fit this area. And the reason I want to go ahead and put these on now is they'll be dry, good and dry, so when we start putting this together. Whoops, my looking glass. And this sheet, I love it. There's a lot of fussy cutting potentials for decorating. And my last one. And then we'll have that all finished. Okay, so this was our 4 1/4 by 10 inch piece, and we scored it 2.5, 5, and 7.5. Now I cut these, so each square is 2 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I cut mine at 2 3/8, or 2 and, let me recheck that for you. Sorry, no, it's 2.5. So I cut my matting 2 3/8 by 4 1/8. So there we'll have our mechanism. We can set that aside with our card. And we're also going to want to score our card. Now, our next piece is the 3.5 inch by 8 inch piece. So you're going to put this on your scoreboard and score it 1 3/4. You want to turn this And at the 2 1/4 inch mark, make a tick mark, 5 3/4. I know it's hard to see on the brown, but I'll be able to show you. And then turn it at the bottom 2 1/4 and 5 3/4. Now, this is what your lines are for. This is my 2 1/4 inch tick mark right there. Then diagonally from there is my 5 3/4. So we want those on the same line. Whoops. And I'm going to just use my 5 inch, come straight down, and now I have my diagonal. Now just take this and turn it. So this through 2 1/4 here, and then directly diagonally is the 5 3/4. Whoops, I'm a little off. There we go. Now that place where I was just a little off, I'll just smooth it out somewhat. There we go. Now let's fold this way. And then let's fold our diagonals. And this diagonal, making sure it's on the right one. Now, when we bring this together, you may have to just tap it a little bit. There we go. See, it'll start moving on its own. Bring it together. Just a minute. Sometimes if your marks are just a little bit off, I want to check something here. That's fine. Oh, I hope those aren't too far apart. Now see, it'll open this way and this way. Has me just a little worried. I'm just going to check those score lines. No, that one's fine. Okay. Make sure I get the right tick marks. Right there and right there. See, what's happening is when I'm pushing it together, it's kind of resisting up here. So I'm just going to be a little forceful. And there we go. Now, don't think that will matter. I do tend to like them to be a little closer together, so it means just I've got a little bit off on my scoring. I'm just pushing them together and basically remaking my score marks. Okay. Now let's grab our card base, and we need to mat. We need to mat our card base. So we have a 5 1/2 by 5 1/2 inch square to mat, and I did cut my pieces. And I know I cut a bottom piece. I'm telling you, it's getting, I should have cleaned up even more. I'm just getting a little messy here. I didn't finish cutting is what I did. Okay. No, I think I'll use that for the outside. So let's go ahead and ink our edges. I don't know, I can't remember if I mentioned it in this segment, but like I said, where we are doing this without an album really to look at, because I'm doing it from scratch. But by the time my video's up, you will see the finished album, of course. So this is kind of trial and error when I'm doing it from scratch like so. let's get our matting in place. Let's not. Let's get a magnet, and it doesn't matter which one. Well, it does. So I'm going to do a plus, just make sure you know for the next one. And that needs to go down there. Now, you know, our mechanism is actually going to come down so far here that I know it would get in the way. That's why I'm going to take another positive. So there, you'll need 2 positives, and we can always take the back off if we need another one. Now see, that way it will catch on the back of the card instead of the inside in the way of the mechanism, and basically it'll still, I mean, it'll work, the large magnets will. So I want it to find its home. There we go. So this is on the back of the card, and it will be adhered down onto the base page. There we go. Now, that's the other thing. We need to make sure we're going to mat correctly, because we're actually going to, this was a trial, and so see, when it opens, it will go like this. So we want the matting to go to the side. And then we want to just make sure around that magnet our paper's down. It's going to be time to refill the bottle. Haven't had to do that one in a while. This goes forever. Okay, now we need to turn it this way to put the mechanism into our card. Now, this will go right up to, there we go, that score line. Okay. Again, just centering it. What I'm going to do is bring this right to there. The hair down so it will close. Do some burnishing pretty good here so that it dries. Okay, now we can see that's grabbing nicely. And we can add our adhesive over here. Close our cover. We're just going to burnish for a second. I want to make sure that's good and glued down. Open it, and there you have, we have the mechanism. Okay, now we want the card piece. Now making sure, that's one thing I forgot to do. I put mine on, and it's going to open this way. Again, major boo-boo, but it's a-okay. What I will do, I will use this for matting, and actually I will put down a different matting because I'm having mine open. See, it'll go like so. And I wasn't, again, thinking, but actually it'll still be okay. Oh yeah, because now these guys are going, it's fine. We are good. Now, what I like to do is to fold my card like so, because our middles really do need to match. And so from the middle over, I just make a mark. Help me keep my center. Bringing that, and now let's center it on the base here. And then open the ends. And I'm just checking to see when it comes up. That's the center. I'll just fold. So I'm just folding this backwards, holding this end, and I'll open it. Okay. Same thing. And it's not working that way. Just find the center. There we go. Just trying to do that so we could see, but there. Now, there we go. So my center is what bends here. I've matched it with the center of the mechanism. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to apply the adhesive and just wait a moment. And we played it at the bottom. Now this needs to go up here at the top. And once again, and while that's drying for 1 second, I'm going to do this because I wanted to do that and show you. I completely let's turn it over. Now, because we've been squishing it, we might have to help it the first time. Now, there's one thing when it opens, so it goes this way. When it opens, one thing, if this bothers you right here, you see how you have this piece that does stick out? And actually, we could have done this before. I just take my scissors, turn it to the side here, and I'm just going to cut those off. Not a big deal. I don't like them when they, stick out. Now, see, it's brought it so it's not sticking out. Now, when we're going to have to help it again. That's what I was afraid of. That magnet is just not, it's having a hard time there. Mine, yeah, there's too many layers to go through. So that part, I totally messed up. But we're not going to redo this. This is like the 4th time I've done this. Trying to get the measurements correct to fit our page. I don't want to waste that magnet. Unfortunately, the other one is not much we can do there. Yes, there is. Let me see something. You know what? This just might work. It's kind of, oh, it's repelling. Let me set him aside. I'll grab another one. I'm thinking that might work. It won't affect it. Okay, let's try this. Trial and error on camera. No, wait a minute. That is correct. Move the backing. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm letting it grab where we put it on the top, and then it's going to place it here. The thing is, it doesn't show. Oops, oh, that tape is sticky. Let me get that off. I'm not worried about it back there being just bare. Hitting the camera. See, because it's not going to really show. Oh, that I don't like that either. Okay, we will work on that. And remove that so I don't waste it. I think that this may be another place where we're going to tie it. Or improvising here. Let's grab our page. And, so that's going to stick off my page just a hair. And let's give something a try here. Actually, now we can bring that in. Okay, we got it. So what I did is I just picked up one of the scraps. It's 2 inches, 2 by 5. We're going to burnish that. That's going to be our closure. And we are going to be able to use our magnet now. Grab it again. Oh, wrong one. There we go. We did it. An easy fix. Now that can be trimmed. I'm going to leave it because I'll probably use one of the cards here as a closure because it helps make it extra strong. So we want to grab now with the hinge to the left. So we do want to mount our page. And we'll want to mount the front of this. And since I want to kind of keep it all the same, I'm going to cut this to fit for my matting. That was 5 7/8 by 8 3/8. I think bring it down so we can add some up to the top. Oh, I forgot we also have our chipboards to work with. But yeah, kind of a bummer. They only included, they didn't do the decorative this time. They only did the journaling. So we don't have 2 different sets of chipboards, but that's all right. Just so they always have ephemera cards. I have to have the ephemera cards. And I think that this is going to be a pretty fun album, even through our trial and errors. All right, now we can add our adhesive. Yeah, almost done. Then we just have one other fun pop-up page. That's our spinner page. I need to open this. I still may remap those by adding. I'll probably take the brown. That's what I'll do. And I'll add it like a photo spot right there. And that way, that'll take the attention off the fact that I put it on upside down because I wasn't paying attention. So what I'm doing is now just getting in between all these little spots to make sure the glue's catching. Another little creasing. And then I'll be able to mount the front as we get some more scraps. I don't want to cut right now another, and I'm not sure that I want to go, you know, all the same. And I may end up piecing this. So I think that's what I'll do. That will look cool. And then I'll take, for instance, here we go. This that we cut off. I have got some bigger pieces of different bigger border. That's what I'll do. So we can now do the back. Now the back, it's kind of boring. It's our pocket page. So we're just ending it with a pocket page like we did on that second page where we had the, oh no, I need to stop and think here and look at my notes. We are doing a wide belly band. So let me get my pieces here, pieces, parts. So what we need is, we need two of, I'm just actually digging right here through the scraps. And I might not have another one. I don't. So I need to cut. And I do have another scrap I can use. So I need another 3.5 inch piece. And it looks like it'll be about 8.5 inches long. We're going to end up cutting them. So what we're doing is we're building another, just a belly band like we did on the front. That will also have, you know, the slide through thing. So this one, this will come on top. And I like the belly band to be longer so there can be pictures, 3-inch pictures put on there. So we know we need 1/2 inch there. I need that plus 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut this now at 7 3/4. That at the bottom, this at the top. This one will actually be the top, or 7 3/4. No, it won't. It'll be the bottom. And we're not even going to cut this one. So this piece is 8.5 by the 3.5. We want to score now 1/2 inch on each end. And then we want to grab, because this is 3.5 inches, so we want another one that is 4 3/4. Oh, I may even have it. Almost 4 3/4 by 2. So let me cut this down. And, you know, the main thing is our belly band is the 3.5. And again, we want to have that, whoops, as I throw it. So we want to have the 5/8, 1/2, and 5/8. Remember, we need that little space there. 1/2 and 5/8. And now we get to bend up those little marks. We need that room. To go around. So first we will put this on the page. Okay, so one is longer than the other. Now I want the longer one at the top and the shorter in the bottom. And I'm going to put this here at the top. Just eyeballing the center. Bring it over a little. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to bring this one down, lay it on top, moving it. There we go. And once it's where you want it, then you can go ahead and furnish it down. Now we want our band to go around to the back of this one. And now is the point you can decide, is this too long? Do you want to cut it? And I probably will, like we did in the beginning, just put it in the cutter. And I'll take it to the 1/2 inch. Better. Then wrapping your band around both of those. So you get your placement. And then this will just pop up. And put that down. Make sure you have room. Because once you mat, it does get a little bit thicker. Then we have our belly band. And you know, it needs something. So let's go ahead onto the, this is just a scrap I want to see. Trying to decide, do I want to? Yeah, I do. I want to go ahead just with a flap, not a large one. So this is 6. So I'm going to cut this piece by 6 1/2. And the nice thing is it is 4, so we can take one of the vertical cut aparts, cut it down, and it will fit on here. And it will give that interest. It just is too plain. perfect. Goes to the edge of my page. I'll put this right in the middle. And then a cut apart, a 4x6 can be cut down and put on there, which will look really cool. Especially the one I'm thinking, it is, either that one or the elementary to end our book with. This is the last page, so it's elementary, my dear. We'll put this on the front. It'll look really awesome. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So now we need to go back. This one is done. We have our pocket done. And we have our double flaps in our pockets. And our pockets, lots of pockets. Okay, this is the one. Our waterfall goes on the back. Okay, so making sure things aren't upside down. Okay, this one is the one we have to do. This is our waterfall that will go onto the back. And then we have a really cute box. Oh, so now you'll be able to make tags, and you can put extremely long tags in here, and you will want longer tags. I don't think I have any scraps cut yet. So you'll want your tags to be quite long. It's over 8 inches, I think. Anyway, you'll be able to put your tags in there, and when you pull it out, then you'll see the hands. Oh, yes, and I forgot. Our open. I love it. And then we have our pop-up mechanism. And I'll get those rematted and fixed. And our belly band and that. So let's just finish on this page. Okay, we're going to work on the page that has also the waterfall, but we need to make tabs to close this. And what I've already done is I've cut a 3/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch piece, 2 of them. And I just laid them here on my mat, down the middle, and I did punch them. The only reason I'm punching them right now is I'll punch them again, but oops, I'll punch it from the opposite side. You don't have to really do it this way first. It's just easier for me to find my center. You can do it, turn it over, find your center. Like I said, we all have odd, eccentric ways that we do things. And I think I was going to use the plaid, but I'm going to use the spider web. No matter what side, this will go with our cute tabs. So we're going to add our glue. Whoops. Clean that off real quick. And bring that to the top. Just turning it over and punching again using the big side. And then I'll use an eyelet. Grab another one that matches. Okay, And what we're going to do is we'll put this one down. Whoops, I need to tighten that. It's not very tight. We'll be using a twine to put these together. Okay, with this bottom piece, we will be folding it over, but we didn't score it because I wanted the rounded, but also because you'll see. So let's go ahead and add our adhesive. And I took it just to the edge there. Now this one, see, this is why we wanted to bend it up. Whoops, we need to move this down a hair. Okay. Yeah, I want the brad to be just at the edge. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to take our page and I'm going to cut off 1/2 of an inch. I need a little bit more space there. So there we go. Let's try this again. So I'm taking it right to the edge of the brad. Okay, that's going to be much better. And I wasn't too sure on this page, knowing the closure I wanted to use. So now all I did was bend that over. Keep hitting my camera. And we're going to put that right even with the edge. I'm going to bend mine just a hair more. So I'm just bending it and keeping it straight. There we go. And we can add our adhesive. That will be covered with paper. And now you can press down a little bit more. I had a piece of twine. I'm telling you, the mess I am creating in here. Here we go. So what I like to do is create a knot on one end. I don't like to pull my threads through both sides. And I'm going to take it to the back as much as possible. You can use any kind of twine thread that you like. And I just messed that up, didn't I? Yes, I did. We have to take it through both first. Oh, no, we don't. That was right. Sometimes, you know how it's just, you need to quit. Your brain's not thinking straight, but you want to keep going. Okay, tie that back into a knot towards the back, just like I said. Well, this is one of those moments. Okay, now I'm stretching it across my page and cutting it because I need enough to tie. And if you don't like the looks of it knotted, then you can just take it through, tie it, and just take your string out each time. I like to have it adhered on both sides because I don't want to have to untie it and pull it out and rethread it each time. Sorry, it's one of those times here. Bring it to the back if possible. close. Once I get this, and actually there'll be more glue added in there. Okay, now we have our closure down. Now I'm going to take my glue bottle right where that comes together and just add a little bit of glue. Now I'm just making sure in the creased area because we're going to cover it with paper. I just put a little underneath right in there. Now you really don't have to do that. When you cover it with your paper, you'll be fine. So there's the closure. And like I said, if you don't like the look of the knots there, just bring it through. You'll just have to undo it each time. So that's totally, you know, your preference. Okay, we have our last page to do with the waterfall. We've been working on it. Never mind. What am I thinking? I came back to the video. So I have my tabs down. I haven't matted anything yet because we're going to make this cute mechanism. And the thing is, before we put it down, though, we do want to mat our page. There's nothing you can really do to get around that. It has to basically be there. Oh, and one thing, I'm using the plaid, which is the other side of the spiders, because it makes the grid marking a lot easier. You'll see what I mean when you're doing this. I mean, it's just like your, I don't know what you call them, spinner cards, or so we do need to match the middle section and this section. Now, when we're doing this with graphic 45 paper, we do want to be, you know, careful. If we don't want any of it to crack. So this piece, we probably should have waited on those tabs. So yeah, I'm going to have them match. And then we'll have the separation with the plaid. And then after this, we will be doing our hinges, putting all of our pages on. Oh no, I'll finish matting and decorating, then we'll do our hinges. Okay, so I've got to move this, and you'll need to decide what is going to be your spinner. So mine's going to be, this is indeed a mystery, and I'm going to back it with the Sherlock Holmes people. Okay, so for this piece, you need to cut a piece of your pattern paper that's 7 by the 8 3/8. Go ahead and ink our edges, and then I'll give you all the scoring, and we have to do the cutting, adding our string. And do your cards. Oh, and I have not, so let me go ahead and get my cards all inked up. Rid of the white. There we go. In your scoreboard, you're going to score 3/4 of an inch, 3/2 inch, and 3/4. Now, this is the part. You need to fold it in half and be very careful. Now, I want you to take your cut apart that you're going to use. And I marked with a pencil 2 inches. Let me get in here. It's 2 inches. I put a little tick mark there, and then the middle of the card, which is 1 1/2. Then I took the middle of this, and you can kind of see if the light hits right. So I marked where my halfway is. Oh goodness, I'm trying. And then with this card, we marked the 2-inch half, and this is the halfway inch. So we're going to match our centers. Now we need to pull our card after we find our centers to this 1/2-inch mark, or the 1.5. Okay, then you want, trying to find my markings, I apologize. Let me get down here again. Find my center one last time. Okay, and go out to that mark. Once you have it, you want to be not quite 1/4 inch on each side. I'd say just little 2/8, maybe not even, just enough room. How's that? So that your card will spin. Once you get that marked, so I have one marked here. This is why I'm using these grids. This grid paper. Then I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to mark down see, 1/8, 1.5. So on my ruler, here's my half, and I'm going to the next mark. I'm going to just go along the bottom here. Now the same distance. So there's my 1/2. Just going over to the next tick mark and drawing that line. So we need room for it to spin. Okay, we're going to grab our ruler. And our cutter again. Just kind of poke a hole and bring it up. And then do the same on the opposite side. Kind of poke a hole and drag up. Now we need to go across the bottom. And for me, it's the green. That's what's nice. See this green line? That's where, oh, now I'm going to be cutting in between the green line and the orange line. Kind of hard to see. There we go. Really hard to see. There we go. Oh, wrong way. Well, everything's just, there we go. Remove those pencil marks. I'll have to do a little bit of trimming here. See how I messed up right there when I stopped too soon? We'll be inking those corners. So see, now we need to make sure, yep, there's room for this to spin. Get this all inked up, and if you see any more of your marks. Now this area has just that little bit of a boo-boo, so I'm going to put it to the back side. So when you first open the album, it's not bad enough that I need to redo it. I can see it. It's driving me crazy. Now we're going to turn this over and using our string. Now mine doesn't quite go from side to side, and that's okay. In the fold here, add the glue. We are going to cover that also with a piece of paper. Now we do want to hold this pretty taut. So it might get a little messy. I am stretching it once the ink's coming off. And it depends on your string. I'm not sure if this glue is going to be the best. Because it's the cotton and it is wanting to stretch. So out comes the score tape. Score tape will bend. I'm just going to add a little piece here because we are, like I said, we're going to cover it also. Get a wider piece. Score tape. I'm going to pull it tight. Not too tight that it buckles, but okay, now I'm just going to take, I've got some scraps just hanging out here. I'm going to fold them both ways. Okay, we can remove the backing to our score tape. My tools are just buried under paper over here, I know it. Now, I'm actually going to roll that up, cut it off because I don't want it to cause a problem. It's a little long. Like that. I should have another scrap, not long enough. Oh, I see something. Oh, there we go. Just kind of fold it in half, both ways. Good catch. Like I said, nobody will see these, so. Fold it back over, keeping things straight. we can take our 2 cards that are going to be our spinners. I'm using my grid here to try and keep things centered. See, now I have a black line on the 5, and I'll put my string right there. That's sticky on my finger. Okay, and then our top one will go down. Get things recentered. Ooh, try not to move too much. Fold our edges up again. And see, when our page is down, just spin that like so. So you want to make sure it's pushed up enough. Find it. And there we go. Now, one thing you can do too is this could be double papered, and maybe we should have, because it is. No, because then it'll be too heavy to fold. Now see, we want to get this down. What I'm going to do is fold these back here. I'm just checking our placement. Looks fine. I want to straighten it up. Oh, we have to make sure everything is straight. And just fold the top over. We'll just wait for a moment. Still have another piece. I guess I didn't. Oh, let me turn it this way. I did a lousy job cutting this time. Okay, now we're going to repeat. Just lay this down. And then let go. Open our page. Okay, one thing I need to do, I can see where this is actually sticking out too much because I put them a little crooked. So I'm just going to use the gold there as my mark. off. Ink that edge. There we go. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to probably put, see, this is Graphic 45. It's not super heavy, but you can't really, well, you could. You don't want it to be so heavy that when you open the page, that it has issues. There we go. So now you have your spinner in the center. I have some places here that definitely will need, I'm going to do some decorating. And the paper will crack. So the only other way to get around that is to use our brown or your base cardstock. And there you have the spinner page. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, it's fun to play with. Gives you, you know, a lot of interaction in the book. Now, because I don't mind this at all showing. It's totally, totally up to you because you can actually take this and mat it. Now, the thing was, you have to mat this first, but we can do this. And it'd be really cute. Is actually make a pocket there. We can make just one of those faux pockets. And I think that's what I'll do. So this is the perfect size. And I'm going to actually cut this edge. Let me tell you. That's 3/4, so let's go 2.5. Oh, let's go 2. Let me see. Maybe 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. No. I'm going to take it down to 2. There's a box there. I keep falling over it. I know it's there. Okay. This is just going to be a pocket for probably some of the just little small pieces that we cut, you know, especially from that one page that has all the advertisements. So that'd be a cute place for some of those little tags because it's not a heavy duty pocket. And we're going to go on the 3 sides. So I think I will put one on both sides, even though that doesn't look all that bad. It bugs me a little. Seeing this will just be a good little place for some small, just little cut aparts, and we'll do both sides. So 2.5. Looks like I can use the other half of this, or no, I went 2 inches. But let's see. There's so many things here at the bottom. So see, we have these cut apart borders. So I will probably, you know, put something along there. Oh, on this one, wait a minute, maybe we need to go. No, 2's fine. Just a little tuck spot. And with this being shorter, you actually could go a little bit smaller if you wanted to, you know, not so wide. I like that with the spiders. sure everything, yeah, it'll close. Still a little stiff. Okay, and now we can mat the inside here. And it's 4.5 by the 8.5, so I'll cut it 4 3/8. I'm not sure about. That's a lot, but we'll put some photo maps down. Let's see. Oh, the ply would look cool. And I have a piece, so I'll get this one cut. Now, another thing that would be fun to do with this, instead of having this, you could actually have that string and then just hang spiders from that string dangling in. And, you know, the plastic spiders you get, and then tie them around that string would look pretty cool. Oh, that was noisy. Okay. There's no glue anywhere. And there we have our spinner page. Now I'll decorate the outside. When we go back through and mat. I just wanted to get the page construction part all done and videotaped for you. Now, when we turn this over, I didn't put down the waterfall yet, if you remember, because I hadn't decided what I wanted for a closure. And the page has to be matted. So actually, I'm going to wait until we do mat, and I'll go ahead and get this this video up and going for you. And I think I may be doing some more of these tabs. I really do like these. So wait a minute. Let's go ahead and do those now. So all you need is to grab your scraps. And I think this will work just fine. This one is a 2-inch piece, so I'm going to cut this in half at 1. And then again at 1 3/4. Okay. So what we're going to do on this one, this tab will sit here. So we do need to mat this first. And then this tab will be here. And it's going to actually fold this way. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to just put these in here. And when we come back to the second video, because this is going to be such a long one, I'll get this one formatted, and then those are in here so I can go back and do that. We'll set this aside. And I could have swore I already had cut. I did. I'd already cut my mat for this. I sure did. So let me have those pieces back. Come down like this. have this one come up like so. We'll cut the hole, we'll mount it, and it will tie it closed. So we can go ahead and put this down. Set that to the side. And we can mount this. This will go with anything. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 7/8. And then we knew it was 1 3/4. So about 1 5/8. Nope, right. Let's see. That one might be 2. It actually gets bent down like so. Now, the reason I'm not really giving you any measurements here on the bending down is because there is none. It just wrap it around there like I did and bend it like so, because it's not a die hard, has to be a certain way. That makes sense. Bend that over, cut it. And I'll get these done, and then I have to call it a night. I can hear my little grandson. They can hear me in here talking. What happened here? Oh, it's just too long. Okay, I had to restart the camera. It went over the hours, so yes, we're going to put these on and attach them, and then I will be done with part 1, and we will have part 2. And we'll mount these. Okay, since they're 1 inch, easy find in the middle. Let's do it this way this time. You know, sometimes I make things a little difficult. Okay, so using the big side, I'll punch the hole. Make sure you leave room at the top for the eyelet. Grab our waterfall. Our waterfall is 5, so about 2.5 inches in. Now same for the bottom one. Now the bottom one is a little bit longer. And I wanted it longer because I do want it to be up somewhat on the page. It helps to hold it down. Okay, since this is the last part, I really don't want to start this over. So I'll probably change my string. Right now I'm going to use some seam binding that we've been using. I'll probably use the string that I used before. I want to make sure. See, it's kind of wide. It looks kind of cool, doesn't it? The only problem is, like I said, I don't like untying it, because then you have to untie and remove it. So the nice thing is if you tie each end, but it does look kind of cool. To recenter that better. There we go. Never get them tied the same. So now we can put this down on our page, and then I can format the video and you guys can get started. Yeah, it's time to fill the bottle. Let's take this open. Shouldn't have tied it. Opportunity just to furnish everything. Actually going to do something. Well, I definitely don't like it to come out, but I may have to just separate. Oh, actually, yes, I will leave that longer. will put the bow right there. So I will cut a new string, and I do like the seam binding. And let me just try that real quick. So if you're curious, quite easy to do. But since the camera's running, I'll hurry and do that. Actually, I'll do the tied end. Yeah, this is a problem. I'll probably glossy accent these ends to tie, you know, make it tighter. So I think for right now, and it's not like the album's going to be opened a ton. Okay, there we have the waterfall. I do like the look. I like it. I think it'll look great. So actually, this is our first page. So the next video too will be our matting. Then we have this. Then, no, that's not our second page. This is the first. Here's our second with our double. Okay. And then this one has the magnets are stuck. This one has the side pockets. And this one has the pocket that opens. See, I've already forgotten. Then we have our pop-up page. See, I like it better when the strings are there. So we have our pop-up page. The only thing when you close it, you do want to make sure that's flat. Then this way you don't have to keep putting your strings in. It's just you have to work around the knots if you're not happy with those. Then we have our waterfall. This is my favorite, one of my favorites. Then we have our pop-ups. Gotta admit, you did a good job. This is a cute album. Then you have your mechanism there, and it just might need a little help too, because, oh, one reason is because I went wider. I forgot to mention that. If you take this down 1/2 of an inch, it'll close a lot easier. It's just I wanted it to be wider. And then we have our last page. So there we go. There is the page construction to our mystery detective album. So I will be back with part 2, and we will finish matting, do our hinges, and we'll get our book put together.